Woke up to my dorm room door slowly unlocking itself. It was the second week of my freshman year when I experienced the scariest night of my life. My roommate had gone home for the weekend, so I had the dorm to myself. At first, it was kind of nice. I stayed up late watching Netflix on my laptop, scrolling through my phone, and eating vending machine snacks in bed. Sometime around 2 a.m., I finally decided to get some sleep. The building was unusually quiet. Normally, you'd hear people laughing in the halls, slamming doors, music thumping through walls. But that night, it was dead silent. I remember lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard it click. The sound of my door handle turning. I froze, my eyes wide open in the dark. I thought maybe I was imagining it, but then it came again, slow, deliberate, like someone was testing the handle. I sat up and whispered, "Hello, silence." I got out of bed and crept to the door, my heart hammering. I checked the lock, it was still in place. Relieved, I turned back toward my bed. That's when I heard it click, click, click. The unmistakable sound of the lock turning. I whipped around just in time to see the knob moving. The deadbolt, which I knew I had secured, slid open by itself. I ran to the door and shoved my weight against it, forcing it closed before whoever or whatever was trying to come in could push through. My arms shook as I held it. Then, on the other side, I heard breathing, slow, heavy, like someone was inches away from me, pressing their face against the door. I yelled, "I'm calling the police," hoping it would scare them off. The breathing stopped. For a few seconds, everything was silent again. I slowly backed away from the door, grabbing my phone with trembling hands. And that's when I heard footsteps. Not walking away, but pacing back and forth right outside my room. They stayed there for what felt like forever. My phone shook in my hands as I dialed campus security. But by the time the officer arrived and searched the floor, the hallway was completely empty. They told me it was probably just another student messing around. But I know what I heard. Locks don't just unlock themselves. The next morning, when my roommate came back, I told him everything. He looked pale and said, "That's weird, because last year, the girl who lived here before us reported someone trying to get into her room at night too. They never caught him. I didn't sleep alone in that dorm again, and sometimes, even now, I still hear the sound of that lock clicking in my head." We thought the school lockdown was a drill, until we heard him breathing. I was a junior in high school when this happened. It was a Thursday afternoon, last period, and everyone was half asleep waiting for the bell. That's when the intercom crackled on. All students and staff initiate lockdown procedures immediately. This is not a drill. My classroom went dead silent. At first, we all thought it had to be a mistake. Lockdowns usually came with warning drills, and they always told us ahead of time. But our teacher's face went pale as she hurried us to the corner of the room, away from the windows and door. The lights went out, and we sat there in the dark. At first, it felt like a joke. Some kids were whispering nervously. A couple laughed under their breath. But the silence of the hallways, the silence of the entire building, it felt wrong. Then came the footsteps. Heavy, slow, deliberate footsteps echoing down the hall. They weren't rushing like a teacher checking rooms. They were dragging, uneven, like whoever it was didn't care about being heard. Our teacher pressed her finger to her lips, eyes wide. Nobody dared breathe too loudly. The footsteps stopped right outside our classroom door. For a long stretch of seconds, there was nothing, just silence and the pounding of my heartbeat in my ears. Then came it a sound I'll never forget. Breathing, deep, raspy, uneven breathing right on the other side of the door. Whoever it was, they weren't moving, just standing there, breathing. One of the kids across from me, a freshman, started shaking so badly the desk beside him rattled. Our teacher slowly crept toward him, trying to calm him down before the noise gave us away. That's when the doorknob turned, slowly, just enough to make the latch click. My stomach dropped. Whoever it was, they knew we were in there. The knob rattled harder this time, shaking violently. Someone whispered a panicked, "Oh my God," and then it stopped. The footsteps began again, fading slowly down the hallway until they disappeared completely. We sat frozen for what felt like an eternity. Every minute dragged by like an hour. Finally, after what had to have been nearly half an hour, the intercom came back on. Lockdown lifted. All clear. Our teacher didn't even move at first. She just stared at the speaker like she wasn't sure if it was real. Finally, she whispered for us to stay put until an administrator came. When the hallway door opened again, it wasn't an administrator. It was a police officer. He told us the building was clear, that it was safe to leave. But as we filed out, I noticed something that stuck with me ever since. The classroom across the hall, the one directly opposite ours, had its door wide open. Inside, every desk was overturned, papers scattered across the floor, and written on the whiteboard in big shaky letters were the words, "I saw you." No one ever explained what happened that day. The school said it was a safety incident and wouldn't release more details. But I'll never forget that breathing outside our door. And sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the lock hadn't held. The hallway camera caught someone following me, but nobody was there. I was 16 when this happened, and to this day, it's the one memory from high school I try not to think about. It started on an ordinary Tuesday. I had stayed late after school for math tutoring. By the time I packed up and left, the hallways were practically empty. The sound of my sneakers squeaking against the wax tile echoed way louder than it should have. As I passed the trophy case, I swear I heard another pair of footsteps behind me. I stopped. Silence. I told myself it was just the old vents rattling, or maybe a teacher locking up a classroom. But when I kept walking, the footsteps started again. They matched mine perfectly, a half beat behind. I turned around, but the hall was empty. By the time I made it out to the parking lot, I was practically speed walking. Nothing happened that night, but the feeling stuck with me. The next day, I joked to my friend Jenna about it, saying the school was probably haunted. That's when she told me something I didn't know. Our school had recently installed a new set of security cameras in the back wing right where I'd been walking. Out of curiosity, I asked our math teacher if we could look. He was nice, and since it was right after tutoring, he agreed to pull it up. When the grainy black and white footage loaded on his monitor, I felt a rush of cold shoot through me. There I was, walking down the hall with my backpack slung over one shoulder. And about 10 feet behind me was a man, tall, thin, wearing something dark that looked too formal, like a suit. He was just standing there in some frames, then moving in others. The problem was when I had looked over my shoulder that day, I hadn't seen anyone. The hallway had been empty. I froze, pointing at the screen. "Wait, did you see that? Can you rewind it?" My teacher frowned and dragged the footage back, but when it replayed, there was no man, just me, alone in the hallway. I stammered, swearing I had seen it. He looked at me like I was losing it, then said the cameras sometimes glitched. But it didn't feel like a glitch. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw that tall figure just a few feet behind me. The following week, It happened again. I stayed late for tutoring, left through the same hall, and once more footsteps echoed behind me. This time, I didn't look back. I just bolted out the doors and into the parking lot. When I got home, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Why didn't you turn around this time?" I nearly dropped the phone. My hands were shaking so bad I almost couldn't text back. But when I did, the message wouldn't send. The number was suddenly invalid. I begged my parents to let me switch schools after that. They thought I was just stressed, but eventually I convinced them. To this day, I don't know what I saw on that security footage or who texted me that night. All I know is, sometimes when I'm alone, I still hear footsteps a half beat behind mine, and I never turn around anymore.